Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm finally here with my final card as a guest designer for this Halloween release from Sweet November Stamps, and today I'm featuring the Ghostly Greetings. There were a lot of Halloween stamps in this release and I loved all of them, but I had to decide which one I was going to use since I had so much cards to make, and well, I truly enjoyed every card I did for Sweet November Stamps, and this one is a lovely green one with an adorable ghost. So I started with this panel, which is slightly larger than a mini Slimline panel. I wanted to just do a green gradient to use as my background for my Halloween card. Now there are many ways to create Halloween cards, and you can, well, most often I see purples, greens and orange color combinations coming by. Well, it's perfect, those combinations. Now I made a lot of purple cards already, so for this card I decided to switch it up and create a green card. And so I'm using this amazing distress ink combination that I used previously in one of my cards as well, and it worked so well. So today I'm using Twisted Citron, Peeled Paint, Forest Moss and Black Soot. Now if you prefer ink blending with Distress Oxide inks, those will blend perfectly as well, but you will have a more chalky finish towards the end of your ink blending, which is perfectly fine if you like that. I just prefer distress inks because of the vibrancy of the color. It's not as easy always to ink blend depending on the paper you're using, but I definitely think it's worth it, and well, I got so used to these inks that I'm no longer afraid to start ink blending like a maniac, which I really did here because I had to blend quite a lot to get this background. Now later on I will use the Barnum Mini Slimline die from Crafty Meraki to cut it out just to give the background a bit of interest. But you could leave it just as is and trim it down to a mini slimline if you want to, but I just love the Barnum Slimline die. So that's why I decided to use that for my background. And then from the adorable stamp set called Ghostly Greetings from Sweet November Stamps, I'm going to use a sentiment and then one of the ghosts that is truly my favorite from the whole set to feature on this card. So I have my first layer, and the more layers you add to your paper, the more those inks will be able to move, even distress inks. So don't be afraid to go really heavy on there with a lot of ink. That will only help you. And so once I had all my colors on there, I went back and forth to get the gradient that I wanted everywhere, as well as to have all of the colors really be present in the area that I needed them to be. So that's what I did. And then I finished on top with some black soot. That always helps emphasizing the colors that you use. It just helps the rest of the colors pop off the paper, in my opinion. And so I added that and then created that gradient again. And now we have really a big contrast between the darkest area and then the lightest one, but I think it also gives more of that spooky or Halloweeny vibe if you have like a huge contrast over there. So the background took me a while to get right, and then of course I die cut it and kept everything in place, but you can definitely also use this underneath a one colored piece of paper that you cut out with the Barnum Slimline dies, or use this and then the bars having in one color. Everything can be changed if you want to, but I just really wanted to feature the whole ink blending thing that I did here. Now for the ghost, keeping it really simple, I'm just stamping it out using some black ink. I'm going to use my Copic colors, Copic markers, to color this in, and they are really limited because it's only one little ghost. And I decided to keep it into the greens as well, so I actually have some sort of a one color themed card, although I did decide to add some red to the tongue of the ghost. So to have some sort of a rounded as well as a sort of see-through idea, I am trying to leave a wide area right as in between my darkest color and my edge or the image itself. It's something that I saw by the incredible one and only Amy Young, and I so love the idea behind it that I incorporated quite a lot already in some of my previous cards. But when I do ghosts, I also really like doing that. So I'm trying to keep a wide area, and then I'm sort of flicking a bit towards the other side. Now, as you see me doing it here, I'm also trying to add all of the dark colors there where there is an overlap of the hands of the ghost, but most of all on the right side of the image. And then I'm going to use a lighter color and flick further and further just until I covered it all. Now you can also leave an area white, but with the green I had some issues with having it fade into the white completely, maybe because I don't have such a soft green marker, but I just went all the way, I colored it completely in the end. But you can definitely let your marker or your pencils or whatever medium you're using, you can let it fade into the white area, and then I think that would be so cool as well. But I was limited when it comes to these markers that I was using today, so I just went for it. And the paper that I'm using, like always, is a Transotype Perfect Coloring paper, so this is layer 1 and I will add a second one as well. And then that white area that I left right all around, I will add a color to it. I think it's my lightest or my second lightest, but it will be lighter than the darkest one, and this way I still think that the see-through is, the idea sort of is there. You can also leave it white again, but I find that adding one of the lighter markers helps cover up any irregularities in the edge that I kept. So that's why I prefer adding it. I don't always do that, but again, in this case, it was hard for me to fade into the white area, so it just seemed more logical to also add a bit of that light color all around, as you can see here. And then I'm just going to blend it out with that lightest color, and that will be my ghost. So just only the tongue with some reds, and then it will be finished and I can start fussy cutting. Now, just in case you might think that the image is different, the one that I'm using on the card as this one, I had an issue with the fussy cutting. It wasn't as easy as with the other images that I already fussy cut, and I'm not an expert at all. So it was a bit hard, and I ended up not having a white border all around my ghost, and I found it such a shame. You can do that, but I just love the effect of a die where you have that gorgeous white border, and I personally find it helps the image to really jump off your card. And with my background being this dark and a gradient and stuff, I really thought that a white border was gonna help my image stand out more. So I ended up coloring this again, exactly the same way as I did on camera, but of course you can never completely redo it exactly the same. But I did that, and then I took really my time to fussy cut it out. And so I have one now without border and one with. And I'm going to use today the one with the white border all around. So as I said in the beginning, I cut this ink blended panel out using the Barnell Mini Slimline die, one of my favorites. And I'm going to keep everything in place on my die cutting mat and just have everything fit on my Mini Slimline card base. I also decided to add some foam tape on the back of this panel, which wasn't easy. It took me quite a long time, so that's why I skipped it, to just limit the amount of time spent on adding adhesive. But once I added everything, I remembered that I forgot to stamp the sentiment, but I already took off the backing, so I just decided to adhere it on my card base and then do the really daunting thing of white heat embossing my sentiment while it's already adhered to my card base. So don't try this at home. It's like the warning when kids, okay. Just do it ahead of time, but I was so excited about the background, and once it was die cut, once I have my background and my images, I tend to want to add everything to a card and see it all come together, being so excited about everything that I created so far. And then, well, the sentiment is like a last thought thingy, and so here I really was lucky that it stamped out crisp and that I could add that embossing powder really quickly and heat set it. I also made sure to clean a bit in between all the bars because, well, embossing powder goes everywhere, and I of course used foam tape. So there I went inside of the bars with my paintbrush as well to avoid having random embossing powder sticking everywhere. And now I'm going to inlay all of those bars in the exact place as I left it on my die cutting plate, which is really used a lot. But I have one plate that is all for the cutting area, and then I have a plate on top which is a bit cleaner so that I don't ruin any backgrounds or images. I don't know if you sort of work the same way, but this plate is really used. I think it's my first plate that I had since like 3 years, and then the other plates are quite often switched, or sometimes I use the plate on top on the bottom if I need replacement of this one. So just taking my time inlaying, and I personally find it so satisfying when I can inlay things and everything fits nicely, and it's just a joy to add everything inside of an area. And once I did that, I could adhere the little ghost as well. So the ghost I also adhered with some liquid glue, and then I was thinking about adding some embellishments, and since I used one image, there is quite a lot of space to add embellishments, but at the same time I don't want to take away any of the attention that should go to my focal point, being the little ghost here. So I decided to add a bit of embellishment, but not too much. And today I am using the Meraki Sparkle Magic crystals from Crafty Meraki, which is an incredible variety of crystal colored embellishments, and they are gorgeous, and you have an incredible amount of sizes in these packages, and I just adore them. It's really subtle, but it's still there, and I could have added it again on many more areas than I just did here, but I centralized it around the sentiment and around the ghost to keep it all united, and then I just have that gorgeous gradient in the back to just let everything shine on its own as well. So once I added them, this card is completely finished. I'm not going to add anything more because I like it clean and simple, so I hope you like it too. This is my video for today and my final card as a guest designer for Sweet November Stamps with their Halloween release. I truly enjoyed it, and I hope that you enjoyed my little adventure in this theme as well. Thank you so much for stopping by and supporting me here. I hope you have an incredible day, and I'll be back soon. Bye!